This show is brought to you in part by viewers like you who joined a Patreon or become YouTube members. Thank you. And if you could, hit the like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content. Ooh, it's been a bad 2 weeks for Sam Darnold. Look, a month ago, people were trying to sell me on the idea that Sam Darnold was about to get $50 million a year to play quarterback in the NFL. Now, when I heard that report, when people I talk to that I trust confirm that that is what people feel like the market value of Sam Darnold is, I lost my mind because that is a ridiculous price for Sam Darnold. 45, 50 million. Like, come on, man. Come on. I have a unique opinion about these quarterback contracts. I tend to think about it like this. Are quarterbacks worth an insane amount of money? Yeah, if they're good. Like, if I think you are a franchise quarterback, like an upper tier franchise quarterback or an elite quarterback, I'll give you what you want. I give you the whole bank. I don't care. How much money does Joe Burrow cost? It does not matter. How much money does Lamar Jackson cost, brother? It does not matter. How much money does Pat Mahomes cost? It could matter very little because those dudes are worth an infinite amount of money. I think the problem with paying quarterbacks becomes the trickle-down effect. Because if you pay Joe Burrow $70 million, then somebody who's not as good as Joe Burrow going to get $60 million. And maybe it's still worth it because that guy, he's not elite, but he's a top-tier franchise quarterback. You can still win a Super Bowl with that guy and not much else. The problem is when it starts to trickle down into these lower tiers where it's like, well, you know, we don't got that franchise guy, but we do have this guy who's close, but not quite that guy, like a Dak Prescott or something like that. Let's give him 50, right? Let's give him 55. You know, and then you go down another tier and you're like, well, this guy's not a franchise guy, but he's pretty good. But let's give him 50, right? Just like Dak. And you see how it rises the price of every quarterback until you get to the point to where Sam Darnold has one good season and people are talking about a multi-year deal worth over like $150 or $200 million for Samuel Darnold. The problem isn't that some quarterbacks get paid too much. It's that we think because a quarterback shows any sign of life, you got to give that dude $60 million. The truth is, there are guys that are worth 70 and then a big gap between anybody else, and you should probably pay the rest of them dudes about $30 million. And Sam Darnold, to me, my max price on him, I give him 20 a year. If like 10 of it was covered in incentives. But like he's worth about $9 million a year. That's what Sam Darnold's worth. If you're paying Sam Darnold somewhere around that money, or if you got an incentive-laden deal where he does get to 20, if he plays up to a $20 million level, you're in a pretty good place. But when you pay Sam Darnold $50 million, you're going to just you're going to get somebody going to get fired because of their contract. And that is where we were a month ago on Sam Darnold. I could not believe it. I saw that made me want to short the quarterback market. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Nobody's paying those prices. It's ridiculous. Who's paying that? Who is going to pay that? But Sam Darnold, who look, has had a really good 2024 season. It's worth remembering. QBR of 60.6, which is 14th highest in the NFL, 12 interceptions, 35 touchdowns, which is the 5th highest in the NFL, and 4,319 passing yards, which is also the 5th highest in the NFL. Finished top 5 in passing touchdowns, finished top 5 in passing yards, and finished in the top half of the league in QBR. The problem with Sam Darnold is that the last 2 games of his Viking season were also the worst 2 games of his season. He played horrible in front of the world on national TV on Sunday Night Football against the Detroit Lions, and then he looked awful today versus the Los Angeles Rams in the playoffs. And that kind of combination drops the price significantly. It reminds me of, y'all remember we was talking about Josh Dobbs getting like $20 million a year at some point last year. Y'all remember that conversation? 2023. Josh Dobbs had like that hot start with the Cardinals and then went to the Vikings and then had a couple of hot games. And people were like, man, Josh Dobbs about to get the bag this offseason. And then Josh Dobbs played a couple games on national TV that reminded everybody that while Josh Dobbs is insanely fun and maybe the best preseason quarterback of all time, he is still Josh Dobbs, and that has its problems. And then Josh Dobbs went to free agency and got paid about the same amount he's always got paid to be a backup quarterback. Same thing looks like it's about to happen to Sam Darnold, right? It looked like a guarantee that the Minnesota Vikings were going to lock him up and then have him be the bridge guy while they wait for their young guy, J.J. McCarthy, to come back from this injury and learn the offense. And now it looks like they about to start the J.J. era next year. They're going to have Daniel Jones back up J.J., and they about to let Sam Darnold walk in free agency and call it a day. So that's where we are with Sam. About a month ago, looked like Sam wasn't going to be available. It's funny how things change. It's funny how these games matter. And now Sam Darnold's going to be available. Now, does what happened these last 2 weeks change my opinion on Sam Darnold? No, because I was never of the opinion that Sam Darnold was worth $45-50 million. But if the price gets down to something reasonable for Sam Darnold, right? If we're talking about a mainly incentive-laden, guarantee-free deal that gets up to like $25 or $30 million for 1 year or something like that, in a multi-year deal, okay. Now that's a contract that I can live with Sam, because if you look at the Browns' bridge options, right, the number one vet, I talked about it yesterday, is Kirk Cousins. He's old. He's coming off an Achilles. We know he can run the offense. We know he can do these things. The question is, physically, is he still capable? Sam Darnold, you have a similar level of confidence, albeit not as high because Sam Darnold doesn't have the same experience there, but the physical confidence that you have in him and his ability to run this offense is much, much, much higher than it is with Kirk Cousins. So if you can lock that up for a couple of years, and that gives you time to look for a quarterback in the time being, while also securing that you're not going to be an awful team because you're not going to have awful quarterback play, that might be the play for the Cleveland Browns, right? They're out a veteran team. They need somebody to play quarterback right now. They can't really wait on a rookie to develop, especially a rookie in a draft that does not have a ton of quarterback prospects. They would rather wait until the 2026 and 2027 classes, but they can't just like sit on their hands. They got to win some games in 2025 to even get to that opportunity in 2026 and 2027. Sam Darnold seems like a perfect guy to get you right there, right? Now the price got to be right on Sam. You know, the contract's got to be structured correctly on Sam. But I think that's what you're looking for if you're the Cleveland Browns. Now, does Sam Darnold, is he going to be interested in coming to Cleveland? I can see why he would. I can see why he wouldn't, right? The Deshaun Watson thing is weird, but now knowing Deshaun's Achilles is torn again and he's not even going to practice next year, he's going to be out for the whole season, makes that kind of an easier sell for both Kirk Cousins and Sam Darnold, because it's not this awkward thing you're going to have to deal with where you got to fake a competition in July. It's completely off the table. So recruiting these guys is going to be much easier. I think Sam Darnold will look at his options and see that the Browns are probably the best fit and the best bet for him to be able to do some of the stuff that he did in Minnesota. The question is the Browns' offensive line going to hold up? Because if you don't have a good offensive line, that's going to affect Sam Darnold greatly. We saw that in this game. I can see it going both ways. I can see Sam being attracted to this. I can see Sam trying to make it work in like New York or something like that. I can see a team like the Raiders being super aggressive because they have the 6th pick in this draft and they're not really guaranteed to get one of the top 2 guys and decide, okay, we're going to be super aggressive and give Sam Darnold $30-40 million. And at that point, the price gets that high, I'm good, right? I'm $25 million with incentives maximum on Sam Darnold. I'm not about to break 30. I'm just not there yet. I'm not there yet. Maybe he could prove me wrong. I ain't there yet with Sam Darnold about breaking 30 a year for that contract. I know some people tell me it makes sense. You could pay him $35 million a year. I ain't there yet, bro. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't feel it. I don't feel that at all. Maybe I'm being arbitrary about it, but that's just how I feel about it. But yeah, Sam definitely could take a quarterback off the board, right? Like if the Raiders go aggressive after Sam Darnold, they're not going to trade up to 2 to get a guy, right? That could just kill the leverage for the Browns at 2. Let's say, this is my personal nightmare scenario, that the Tennessee Titans decide to sign Sam Darnold. They give him to a big contract. It's obvious he's going to be the starter. And then they draft Abdul Carter at 1. Well, now I'm personally hurt and offended. And then you're going to try to trade back. And maybe you hope that that's when the Raiders try to jump in and say, hey, we like Shador, Cam Ward. We jump up for him. We make that play. The Sam Darnold part of this, I think people kind of wrote off as a possibility for teams because they thought that it was a lock that Minnesota was going to keep him. But now he's likely to be available. We'll see what happens as free agency looms. But I do think Sam Darnold could become available in free agency in a way that we weren't thinking he was going to be available a couple of weeks ago, which to me means one team's going to be off that quarterback board. And remember, there's not a ton of teams looking for quarterback. There's Cleveland, there's Tennessee, there's New York, and there is Las Vegas, right? There's like 4 teams really going at it for quarterback. Well, if Sam Darnold goes off to one of those teams, bam, that's one team not looking for a quarterback. Potentially Kirk Cousins could go to another team. Bam, that's 2 teams off the board not looking for a quarterback. And we're really talking about trying to pull all this leverage with the second overall pick in a 2-quarterback draft, quote unquote, with 2 teams needing to get a quarterback, and one of those teams might have the number 1 overall pick, and the other team might be you. So the more and more, the closer we get to the draft, the more I feel like the trade back is not going to be a real good possibility. I think we're hoping that we can get a trade back. And I think the concern is for the Browns, not if they can get a good trade back, but hey, is the player that you want going to be there at 2? Because it's not a guarantee in my eyes that a quarterback goes number 1 overall. It feels like people want us to believe that is the case, but that much smoke being in the air about quarterbacks going number 1 overall, I don't know. It feels kind of fishy to me. Let me know what you guys think. Are you interested in Sam Darnold? Has his play the last 2 weeks have turned you off? And keep in mind, right, we're not expecting Sam Darnold to be the franchise savior of the Cleveland Browns if we sign him to a contract. We're just expecting Sam Darnold to be a bridge quarterback. So don't give me Sam Darnold can't be the guy. Nobody cares if Sam Darnold is the guy. That's not what Sam Darnold's going to be signed here to be. He's not going to be the guy. He's not supposed to be the guy. But can he be a bridge guy? Right. So many times I see somebody bring up one of these free agents. I talked about Kirk Cousins the other day, and somebody was like, well, he's not the guy. Obviously, he's not the guy. He's not the long-term answer. It's not the long-term answer. But he could be a short-term option. Do you like Sam Darnold as a short-term option? And what's the right price for Sam Darnold as a short-term option? Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.